Hi, I'm Damion Poitier.
I'm B-Day Walters.
And we're here to be your black geek friend. You may be wondering, why are the demographics of the Black Panther film such an issue?
Or why are people so upset that the 13th Doctor is going to be a woman? We're here to help.
I have a question. Now, to me, it's obvious why it's important. SpongeBob SquarePants is a really, really funny show that I liked a lot as a kid, but it seems almost foundational to the meme culture of black youth. Why is it so ingrained in the kind of internet language?
Because SpongeBob is an absolute good, that's why. You know?
Yeah, SpongeBob is so, out there, and it's so much easier for a culture that's growing in representation, but not really firmly represented, to grab onto something that's not, so delineated as,
But then another thing that you need to take into account, though, is that, you know what? Actually, this is going to take more time than we have.
Yeah.
Tune in Mondays in August to learn more. And we're going to start with SpongeBob. We will answer this, episode 1, SpongeBob. Yes!
Black geek friend.
Wait, are we Transylvanian now?
Why not?
I mean, you already look a little too vampiric for that gag.
All right, you're right. Okay. Hi, I'm Damion Poitier.
B. Dave Walters.
And we are the Bang Fan Brothers, and we're here to be your black geek friend for the day. Yeah. So here's what we're doing. We are here to answer any and all sensitive questions you may have about race and diversity in the geek sphere. We want to keep it mostly to the geek sphere. We don't really want to get too much into other things because that's long other conversations we're not really prepared to have here and now. So
that's what Twitter's for.
Yeah, that's what Twitter's for.
That's what Twitter's
so start queuing up your questions, pop them in the chat. Let us know what you want to know about, what you want to talk about. We have a couple things we're going to talk about from before. When you do queue up a question, write question in capitals, like caps lock it out, scream it at us. Write your question. That'll let our lovely social media person know that you have something you would like us to say to you. I just realized I was looking at the wrong camera the whole time.
Well, but the right camera was looking at you.
Yes, it was.
That's what counts. The right camera was looking at you.
So our social media person will cue that up for us here so that we know you have a question that we should tend to, and then we'll get to that as soon as we can. Don't be afraid to ask your question repeatedly, because as you can probably see, I have a tendency to talk a lot. So I might be going for a while, and then your question gets zipped out, and then something else is up there, and I don't know what's going on. So you need to put your question back in, but just keep putting it back in. If we don't answer this week, come back next week and keep asking. As long as you keep asking, we will keep answering. And that goes for repeated questions and you should talk now.
I would like to say words. Yeah,
yes.
So, we did this a couple months back, if you happen to see it, and we got a really great response from the people of the interwebs. Hello, people of the interwebs.
Hi,
Hail Hydra.
interwebs people.
Yeah, I said it.
You did.
I'm going to come back to why I said Hail Hydra here in a moment, by the way.
He will.
But our intention with this show is not necessarily to make this like a just black dudes thing. It's just, we have our own unique cultural aesthetic. We have our own experiences. The number one things we want to talk about is diversity, inclusiveness, why it's important to see different kinds of people portrayed in media. I mean, that's men, women, black, white, Asian, Buddhists, Muslims, everyone. LGBT, yes.
Two souls,
our goal
what's the new stuff now?
is to whatever the kids are into, right?
Yes, whatever the kids are into.
Our goal is to just make this a place where there's room for everybody.
Yes.
That's our goal, So let me just answer the elephant in the room, because I get asked this all the time about my Hydra shirt and my deep-seated Hydra allegiance. Let me just say this. Hydra is a pretend supervillain organization, okay, that maybe has slightly fascist leanings. I mean, I don't know that.
Slightly?
Slightly
fascist leanings?
I wasn't there.
Slightly?
I mean, I don't know if those things they said about Red Skull are true. Do you?
Well, none of it's true because it's all made up. But
true.
In the 616 and other iteration worlds, yes, it would be considered to be true that Red Skull did those horrible things. And actually, if you're in the movieverse, it's Hydra adjacent. If you go straight to comics, you straight Nazi.
Well, the reason why, let me just say, the reason why I rock my shirt, and this leads into something we're going to talk about later on. We're going to talk about Confederate and why Confederate's generally a bad idea. But the reason why I still rock my shirt proudly, no matter what's going on in the world, no matter what you might see happen, the fact of the matter is this culture belongs to us. This culture belongs to me. And they don't get to take Hydra from me. They don't get to take Hydra from you. I'm doing this for you, people of the internet. I'm doing it for you. And you know what? You're welcome.
Because if he's wearing a Hydra shirt and they say something to him, it's not going to go well. No. So that means you can wear a Hydra shirt. But,
And please do. And also, Hail Hydra. So as you saw in our intro sequence there, we did take a couple questions, and the lovely Kyle asked us about the significance of SpongeBob.
Yes, in Black Twitter.
Twitter, meme culture, and you were in the process of answering that question, and I sort of interrupted you because we had to get here and do this through the wonders of modern technology.
It's like we were there, and now we're here, which we were.
We also started from the bottom.
And now we're here.
And now we're here, yes, right. So, SpongeBob, why is SpongeBob so prevalent in meme culture, Black Twitter culture? Oh, you'd like me to speak on it? Okay.
That's on you.
That's on me.
You got my answer. My answer was there on the screen.
SpongeBob. Shout out to SpongeBob, our homie.
SpongeBob.
First of all, if you don't follow like Black Twitter on Imgur and things like that, please do yourself a favor. Go to Imgur and look at any of the Black Twitter dumps, and realize you're going to lose hours of your time, and you won't be able to laugh as hard for the next few days. You're probably going to lose your voice in the process. And one thing you will see a lot is the SpongeBob chicken memes. And as Kyle was asking, why is that? And you know, I think there's a lot of reasons why. Just when something easily gets like hooked onto and captured, and the SpongeBob chicken meme just easily lends itself to that. I mean, SpongeBob is a common thing. We all know who he is. SpongeBob is a shared thing that most of us grew up with. I mean, I guess I was slightly older than that, but I mean, I kind of watched it and got it, you know. But when you see you know, a meme about SpongeBob, and it's the scene where everything's on fire around him when he was in his own mind and he's losing all of his memories, and it just says like when your mixtape is fire. You know, that sells itself.
It really does.
You know, that sells itself.
That's a good sell.
Yeah.
That is a good.
Yeah.
Good sell. No, questions not have to be related to race.
No, not at all. No, they don't have to be related to race.
We're,
Just
we're
whatever.
geeks.
Yeah.
Like, we'll tell you our geek opinion on
Yes.
whatever it is, and you know,
Definitely.
if it's race, cool. If not,
Definitely.
we're here to answer your geek questions, and we are black geeks. But it doesn't have to be a black geek question. It
Does
can be
not.
just geek question because we're actually geeks that
Right.
happen to be black.
Right.
Not, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly. Geeks first and foremost.
Right. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So that gets in the SpongeBob. Is there anything else we need to hit on the SpongeBob?
No, I mean, I think that is basically it. Between what Damion said in the promo, which just happened, because again, of course it did, because you just saw it.
And we were here. Yeah. So between that and that, I think we covered that. We talked about. We talked a little bit about the
In the promo, we mentioned Black Panther.
Black
we
Panther
mentioned
and
Doctor
the
Who.
kickback.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Black Panther kickback, and then we'll get into the Who of the Doc.
Yes.
Okay. So Black Panther kickback. It's interesting that whenever anything is predominantly black, there seems to be people who feel like it's reverse racism and it's pushing the wrong way and it's doing strange things, even though up until recently the majority of programming was predominantly white. And there are, I mean, I don't feel like everybody has to be in everything, personally.
No.
I don't feel like everybody has to be in everything, and that's on both sides, all the sides. I can't say both sides because there's more than two sides, but I don't feel like everybody needs to be in everything. And so something like a you know, extremely what's the word I'm looking for here, reclusive, xenophobic society hidden in Africa.
Shout out Black Panther.
Probably wouldn't have a great deal of non-melanated folk in their unless they were albino.
No. Yeah. The white ape.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So via the nature of the story,
Yep.
it lends itself to that. Now the obviously the common, you know, kickback is, well, we see a lot of stuff where, you know, all of a sudden minorities are being pushed into stuff in the past where there weren't any minorities. Actually, there were minorities because there was an empire. And if there's a European empire that goes across the world, that means they went all over the world. And one of the things they do when they go across the world is bring things back.
Right.
And there's just a lot less of the things being brought back being shown in popular literature from around the 1920s.
Yeah.
Previous to the 1920s, there was a lot. I mean, Roald Dahl, who was not a friend to the Dusky Faces, actually wrote.
He's not a friend of children either.
No,
I mean, I'm like, yeah.
He actually wrote a story that was in like I can't remember the date on it, but it had like
it's the internet. Someone will correct
somebody
us.
pull it up, the Roald Dahl like early. It had like an African pilot and pirate and Asian. Like there was his Roald Dahl story was super multicultural, and it's Roald Dahl.
Yeah.
So this is previous to the, you know, if it's has to do with Western culture, it should be all white phase because before 1920s, lots of colors were everywhere.
Right.
So a lot of people are saying it's not, but guess who's saying that? The people who wrote that it was.
Yeah, it's like, did you see where BBC did that thing about life in the Roman Empire?
Yeah.
And they were showing the diversity of people in the Roman Empire.
And
And
it was like,
yeah, a lot of guys kind of lost their minds about that. And it's like, it's true that not all those people were there voluntarily, but that was kind of Rome's business model. They would come into a place, take over that place, annex that place, and then send the men from that place to be soldiers in other places so they wouldn't have insurrections in those lands. So things got scrambled around like quite frequently. And that's
On
not
purpose.
even on purpose, yeah.
And like distinctly on
And
purpose to make sure that there was peace amongst
Yeah.
the empire as much as could be handled via said means.
Which, you know, and over generations and over centuries, you know, people miscegenated, you know, and they were, you know, Romans, you know, about that life, strength and honor. You know, about the Black Panther thing, and we do need to explain even why diversity matters in the first place. But let me say that before I forget about Black Panther,
Before you forget about
because
Black
I
Panther.
will.
He will.
Yes.
You don't forget, nobody forgets about Black Panther.
That's true. Nobody forgets about Black Panther. Yes.
Some people do.
To me, you know, the cast of the story is dictated by the story itself. Like, I'm not particularly upset about the fact that in Game of Thrones they're fairly homogenous, because Westeros was fairly homogenous, you know. But
That gets into a small point of as a created universe, you can put anything anywhere, and the Black Panther takes place in a universe with a great deal of other individuals,
like
whereas Westeros, you don't really see a whole lot of.
Well, I mean, that argument cuts both ways. Then what I'm saying is, Wakanda doesn't have to be a separatist.
Yeah, but Wakanda takes place as a small section of the big Marvel U. Westeros is all of it, and there's no Duskies.
No, I mean, over in Bravos and over across the Narrow Sea and all that. I mean, the Summer Islands and stuff. I mean, like, don't make me go into the appendix of the Game of Thrones.
I'm not worried about the appendix. I'm worried about what's happening on the screen. I'm worried about what we see when we watch the show.
Well,
we don't see very many.
In the North. They're there with the Northmen. We're in that part of the world. If a story is set in Germany,
but he set it in that part of the world.
I know, but he said it. Well, they said Wakanda. I mean, Wonder Woman is set on Themyscira. That's a bigger thing. But it wasn't.
And Wonder Woman was in Themyscira, and there was Duskies on that Themyscira.
Well, but the problem with that, though, is then you get into the arguments of, well, why were there no men on Themyscira? It's like, well, because there's not men on Themyscira. That's
I agree with you. But
so,
what I'm saying is, can I just? All right, you do you.
This is what I have to deal with. Look at that. Look at, we went to the wide angle.
Yeah,
we went to the Willy Wonka cam.
Yeah,
I love
Willy
that, by
Wonka.
the way. I just feel like Oompa Loompa should come out of. Yeah.
I've got quite a large what's that for you.
Double shout out, Ronald.
Oh, thank you.
So, to me, whether or not a thing is homogenous is based on the story that you're trying to tell and whether or not it serves the narrative.
Right.
Themyscira is an island where there's only women. We go to Themyscira, we see only women. And yes, they took the time to portray different kinds of women, which is great, and that is a part of the comic lore also.
Right.
But the narrative dictates only women live there. Wakanda, the narrative dictates that people of color live there. They're a separatist society. They're literally intentionally cut off from the outside world, and that is what you would find there. So it just depends on where the story is set and what the needs of the story are. Now, that being said, all things being equal, if you're telling a story that's a police procedural, if you're telling a story about a sports team, if you're telling a story about a bar, then yes, there is room and, dare I say, the necessity to include lots of different kinds of people because that's the world we live in, and the story would facilitate that. And yes, the story should be created to facilitate that.
Well, another thing, sorry, just not a counterpoint, but kind of a counterpoint, Vikings.
An adjacent point?
Yes, an adjacent point. I've been watching Vikings. Love the show. Not a whole lot of brown people on that show. Makes sense. They're in the North. You see what I'm saying? Whereas that's a semi-fiction. Yes, and I know there were actually some Dutch black Vikings. There actually were.
Blaumen.
Yeah, the Blaumen.
The Blaumen.
Look it up. Blaumen.
The Blaumen.
There actually were black Vikings.
There were black Vikings. They existed.
They did.
Native American Vikings too, actually.
Yeah, because when they went over,
they came to Native American, took some back. Yeah, there's verifiable historical evidence that happened.
Once again, if you have an empire that went out and saw people and got to places and interacted with other people, you probably brought some of those people back with you.
Yes.
And if you brought some of those people back with you, then those people would be around for your stories and your tales and your wonderful mythology and all that. Wow, we got a lot of questions up here.
We got a lot of questions. We should say words.
What were you? You had another point. You said.
Why this even matters, by the way. Let's just because when we did this a few months ago, which by the way, you should look up the original episode of Ask Your Black Geek Friend. If you Google it, you will find it. You should watch it. It's kind of amazing. But one of the things that we talked about is why this is even important. Why representation and diversity is important in the first place. And to me, the reason why it's important is I feel like, life is hard. Life can be very difficult. And it is important for us all to have a place where we can go and we can dream and we can kind of turn our mind off and get lost in something. And it helps if there's someone that looks like you in those places, whatever you look like, but someone that you can identify with in a heroic way.
Just looks like you, comes from your place of
reflects your cultural worldview. Has your religious symmetry. Has your whatever. Your sexual identity, all of that stuff. Because when you can see those people operating in a heroic way, when you can see those people operating in a villainous way. When you can see them triumph, when you can see them fall, when you can see them pick themselves up again, that helps you and me and all of us deal with the buffets and vicissitudes of life. Vicissitudes. See that? Yeah. No, I got a drink from the almond milk and an almond. Yeah. So that's why that's important. Little boys and little girls all over the world need to be able to look at someone and say, I can be that. In an unrelated way, this doesn't even have to just be a comic thing or a TV thing. I saw a video on Facebook today about John Cena and people sending him thank you notes and about how he personally inspired them through their own difficulties. And they came and they met him, and it's very emotional. You wouldn't think you could like cry watching a video about wrestlers, but it's true. Because yeah, while wrestling might be fake, you know, and it's I have a whole different rant about wrestling. I was a fan for a very long time. They work very hard, and a lot is very difficult to do. But the point is, even though John Cena is playing a character, the impact that he as a man and as a character had on real human beings is real, and it is important. And it's just as important as what Doctor Who means to some people, or Wonder Woman means to some people, or you know, Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, Wolverine, whoever. It's important, and it's important that someone has that to aspire to. That's why diversity matters.
I can't really add. That's pretty covered.
But say I don't have a mic to drop. It's attached.
Yeah, you can't drop the.
Can I just like roll on the floor? You know?
I don't know that would.
Okay. No? All right. First question. I haven't even looked at it. You can have it.
I'm going to look at the first question.
First question.
The first question is from.
Can I just say one thing?
Say it.
There's someone in chat, Imp Queen. I don't know who you are. We've never met.
No clue who you are.
Nice,
just a
nice,
random.
nice to meet you. I believe you said your name's TL. Is that it? Yeah. Nice to meet you, TL. Yeah. Right.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Bo Hinman. Is it Hinman or Heinman? Hinman or you?
Right.
Anywho, so do you feel like Hollywood is finally going in a good direction pertaining to more roles for POCs in superhero movies? Yes and no?
Honestly, I got to say, I didn't hear the question. I was
Okay, so do you feel like Hollywood is finally going in a good direction pertaining to more roles for POCs in superhero movies?
I'll let you answer that. That speaks to your wheelhouse. I'll let you start.
Yeah, yes and no. I would say yes, it is, because we're seeing more people of color and more expressions of it. No, because the source material that they're mining from does not have a very diverse thing without really switching into some race bending of modern characters, you know, Riri Johnson instead of Tony Stark and all that. You really have to do some
I'm very against Riri Johnson,
yeah,
but I'll come back to that.
Some Hyman, like behind man. Gotcha.
Yeah.
So it really depends upon how you look at it. Obviously, any progress is good progress, and we're seeing progress. The problem is the source material is not being is not popularly reflective enough of the diversity of modern culture organically to provide enough for the screen to reflect it without race bending, like in Dark Tower.
Yeah, we got to come back to Dark Tower. Yeah,
we could. I mean, we don't have to. We could.
You know, I personally.
So I hope that.
Oh,
I hope that answered the question.
Well,
what was your question?
Well, you know, I want to say something about that.
Say
you know, one thing that you will learn about me, people of the interwebs, is that for the most part, I don't like changing anything, honestly. If a character is originally written as a Caucasian, I prefer they stay a Caucasian. If they're originally written black, I prefer they stay black. Unless it's like a mantle that you pick up like Green Lantern or something, you know. But if suddenly someone were to make, like a couple years ago, when they were trying to reboot Superman one of the times, there was a thing going around that Lois Lane was going to be played by Beyonce.
And there was also a thing that Will Smith, they wanted Will Smith to be
Superman.
Will
Smith to be Superman. Both of those would have been terrible ideas.
Horrible ideas.
Because that's not in service to the characters or the love of the characters. That is garbage pandering. And I can spot garbage pandering, and I do not appreciate garbage pandering.
Unless,
you know. It's like classy. Make you feel like a lady first.
Right, yeah. Well, no, unless you start to get into like the actual like pseudoscience of whether a person from a world that was powered by the sun, what skin color they would actually have.
But that's not this guy.
I know,
you know what I mean?
I'm saying
guy.
I'm saying you could set a proceeding for a Superman-like character based upon based upon that. Sure. Like, would Val-Zod actually be stronger than Superman because his melanated skin allows him to absorb more?
But then that's a different story. That's a different conversation. That's okay.
What I'm saying is
great.
could. I wouldn't like it.
Could, right. Yeah.
I wouldn't like it. I'm not into that. I don't like that either. I'm not a big fan of that. But yeah.
Well, let me to the point, yes, I do believe we are getting more opportunities to see different representations of heroism and different representations of strength, and that's important, yes. All right, next question.
Yes.
All right, I'll read this one. Pac. Is it Tupac, 3 Pac?
2.
X-Pac, 6 Pac? 6 Pac. Anybody remember 6 Pac? Yeah, all right, shout out to 6 Pac. My question for the hosts in the chat is this. Why can't black gamers and writers make new characters in series and games that reflect their culture? I'm starting off on this one, by the way. Do any of the new identity, social issue, and race-based series sell well? I don't think blaming white people is the answer black artists need to focus on. Making content is. And that, good sir, Pac, thank you so much, because we are roughly 25 minutes into this show, and you have hit on the exact reason why this show exists. So thank you for that. And I don't mean that facetiously. I mean thank you for that.
And he did that that's been up there for a while. Like Pac,
Right,
Pac
yes.
did it earlier.
No,
So
Pac was
25
in there.
minutes is not when he hit it.
Shout out
25
to
minutes
Pac,
is when
right.
we saw it. So,
Right, so he gets, you know what, we're behind. Yeah, I mean, we're, he's in the year 2037 already.
Right.
We're 2000 late. So here's the thing. First and foremost, I think the main place where your logic is in error is this idea of black people blaming white people. We're not here blaming anybody. And the fact of the matter is consumers vote with their wallets. They do. And I also always say, because we've had this conversation many times, and I always say it's more important that we do launch new properties and that we do have new characters and we do have new representations of things. Well, let me just say one thing.
Okay.
That's super hard to do.
The complications of it, which I was about to get into, but he's on it.
But,
So
well,
we'll
no,
just
you know what? Please, feel free to. That's
Okay,
very
so
hard to do.
complications about that is.
But I'm with you on that, but yes.
Yeah, well, no, we see. Here's the thing: everybody wants to launch their own stuff, and everybody wants their own stuff to become wildly popular and successful and amazing. It comes to resource allocation and cultural support for the launching of the things is a big part of it. You know, there's the black geek culture is just starting to become a viable thing, whereas it could possibly support its own launch. You know,
or even just be a viable part of just geek culture.
Yes.
You know, unless it's something like Hancock, and even Hancock couldn't support universe.
Right. Well, it could have.
It was kind of garbage.
If they had written it better.
If it had been better.
Yeah, if it had been a good idea in terms of along with the fun movie. Okay, we'll move on. If it had been good, yeah. So where we get into the difficulty is everything, especially mythology. Mythology is like a pantheon, you know, and every single culture has its own pantheon. And right now, the pantheon's pretty full. Like there's a lot of, you know, you got your sun god, you got your dark lord, you got all those characters, all those slots have been pretty filled in the zeitgeist of the hearts and the minds of the many.
Right.
And the zeitgeist has been formed by the prevailing culture, which has been, you know, Judeo-Christian, heterosexual white male culture, which took its real cementing in the 1920s, which was 20 years before superheroes started, which is, you know, why it kind of reflects that almost exclusively. And so to break up that field and to interject some new things in it is going to take some real work on everybody's side and some real just badass stuff from the creators that's, like I said, enough to get penetration that will enable it to meet. And in terms of what he also asked about, does it have to be about social issues and all that other thing? I mean, if you think about it, your issues are your struggles are what enable you to tell your most powerful stories. Yeah. So do they sell? Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Right. You know, and it really depends on the delivery, because I've seen really, really excellent ideas really poorly put together and
like the Dark Tower.
And I've seen really, really shady ideas that were like, okay, that's not bad, but then they delivered it in such an amazing fashion that you were immediately sucked in. So what we need is more amazingly fashioned delivery systems for people of color and anybody in the other category.
Yeah, I mean, again, you know, to the point of the Dark Tower, since we got our image, we definitely should say this.
Oh, do we have a Dark Tower?
No, it went up. It happened.
I was like, all this.
No, you were connecting.
Yeah, I was
no,
like,
you were with the people.
And then,
yes.
Yeah, but yeah. Oh,
there it is again.
It's back again.
So that's a classic example of what not to do. You like scared a fly or something, like a bug, like erupted when you did that.
It was coming at me, and I was like,
oh, was that what that was?
It was coming at me, and I was like, get off me, man.
You know?
I was letting them know that it didn't need to be here.
You know, I feel Idris Elba's inclusion in that movie, which, by the way, I didn't think the movie was bad. I just felt it was unremarkable. It was like a $200 million Sci-Fi Channel film. It was just it was just weird.
Like late night on HBO, those like Darkstalker and all those other, like
exactly.
I would have been, you could have dropped that budget, but then it was serviced by the fact that it has such powerful actors in it that really helped you to actually enjoy it as opposed to mock it.
But there was no reason. I mean, I wasn't offended that Idris Elba was in it, but there was just no reason to have him in it. You know,
there was also no reason not to have him in it because.
Well, but he's not that character. Now, I haven't read the books. Full disclosure, I haven't read the books.
He's not the character from the books.
Right.
He is the character that they put in the movie because in an alternate universe, of course, King Arthur could be black.
I mean,
King Arthur could have mixed descendants that end up being black.
So,
because, you know, that happens.
you see this was an opportunity to try and insert a person of color into a beloved property. And it wasn't because of that the movie didn't work. There's
No,
lots
it was
of
not.
reasons the movie doesn't work.
Yes.
I think if they'd made it like, Detective Luther versus Russ Cole for the film, I would have watched 9 hours of that, of them just sitting at a table interrogating each other.
Yeah.
But what ends up happening is you get things like that, where you're like, so we're going to take this, we're going to make this huge beloved property, we're going to make billions of dollars, and we're going to put this black dude in it because America loves the black guys. And Idris Elba is incredible, but
kills it.
That's just not enough, though. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't served.
They didn't
by that.
They didn't service the mythology in any way. Well, in the film,
Yeah.
but furthermore, by putting him in it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that's the challenge. And let me just say one other thing, because I know the time will get away from us. So let me just insert this now.
Okay.
Because we're halfway through already.
Are we?
Can you believe it? Yes.
Good God.
Halfway through, but we're going to get to most of these questions. And you know what? We're on Twitter also. You can find us on Twitter.
Right.
We might speak to some of us on
that
Twitter.
halfway through is a
No,
guideline.
We
It's
got
not
time. It's not rules. It's more like guidelines.
I mean, we might go a little
But,
over because we
you know,
do that because we started a little late. We can go a little
We
over.
did. That's true. We that's one of the advantages of us being the last show. That if we run over a minute or two, there's nobody here to get upset about it. Right.
We're all the last one.
So Confederate.
Oh.
Confederate.
When it ran in there.
Oh yeah, I'm going in.
Oh, let's
I'm
go
going
in. All right,
Yeah,
all right.
we're past the foreplay.
Buckle
stage.
down. It's about to
Yeah.
get real in this piece.
No. And I think, again, our goal is not ever really here to get too political with this, but obviously we have to speak to some of the elephants in the room, which are the recent events in Charlotte, right? Which whatever you thought about that, I think you can see that it was highly, highly offensive to millions and millions of people. And the reasons why that was offensive are the reasons why we don't want to see Confederate, okay? And to say, you should give it a chance, and we've got some black writers and all of that, it's like, no. There's other stuff we could do. There's other stories we could tell, That's not what the world needs right now, HBO. You've done well with Game of Thrones. I'm giving you a pass on your homogenous HBO. There it is. Shout out HBO. No Confederate. Boo Confederate. No Confederate.
I'm not a fan of it. God, I hope I don't get an audition for Confederate because then I have to do some
I
soul searching.
mean, if they're
It
paying,
might be, it's like, wow, that's
mean,
a really compelling role. And eventually I was into the idea, but then they put dollar signs in
that's
front
a
of me.
different
Suddenly-
conversation.
Yeah, it
Believe
is.
me,
It is a different
I will be
conversation.
the first to advocate for you getting paid to go be on Confederate. The show shouldn't exist.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, but if
Right.
it does exist, we should take some. No, I'm just kidding.
Right.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. So, do we want to take another question, or where with?
I mean, unless you wanted to say anything other than no Confederate, no Confederate.
I'm not really into the idea. They talk about the nothing that I've seen about the show, including the rollout of the idea, has suggested to me that it will be treated with the nuance and kid gloves and just delicacy and understanding of the culture that would enable me to think that it's going to be a good idea.
Let me pose to you a question that I've seen, and I think I have an answer for it, but I feel like it's valid on the surface.
Drop it out.
Why is Man in the High Castle okay, but Confederate is bad?
Well, for me, first of all, how many Nazi things do you see floating around Germany?
0. Interesting.
Yeah, and they don't really have a whole lot of Imperial Japanese, as I know.
Huh.
I don't think there's a lot of stuff. So the
bizarre.
defeated parties were kind of shuffled off into the museums of history and not out front and center, put together in the 1950s.
You mean people aren't actively being oppressed like right now?
Well, I mean, I'm sure they are.
Right,
they
yeah.
are, but
Right.
just not
Like
as
that?
they are here. And I mean, because a lot of the Confederate things that are being pulled down now weren't actually put up right after the war.
No, they were not. They were
A
put
lot,
up.
not all of them. Some of them
yeah,
were.
Some of them were.
But not all of them were put up right after the war.
Right.
They kind of got put up in the 50s and 60s, and I'm sure
Yeah, Jim
a lot
Crow,
of you are
and Jim
familiar
Crow
with what
era
was
and things
going
like that.
on.
Yeah,
during that time.
those people themselves didn't want that recognition. I mean,
Right,
Stonewall Jackson and Ulysses S. Grant and
Yeah,
stuff.
they said-
they
they
didn't
said
want to be
go.
remembered.
Right.
You know?
They're like, this was a horrible thing. We did a horrible thing. We didn't want to do this. Y'all made us
Yeah.
do this.
Yeah.
There's no need for this to be celebrated.
Don't
Let's
bury
keep
me
it
in my
down.
uniform.
He was
Yeah.
not buried in his uniform.
Yeah.
He did not. All the Confederate stuff he had was burned or
Yeah.
threw away. Lee, he didn't want anything to do with it.
Right. So,
yeah.
for me, the difference between this is, one, The Man in the High Castle is, an existing beloved sci-fi property. It's not something being created from scratch right now.
Right.
Two, for the most part, to your point, for the most part, on a large scale, those particular hatred and prejudices have been laid to rest, you know? I think if The Man in the High Castle started off as them saying, we're going to set a story in the modern day where the Germans successfully wiped out all the Jews, we'd be like, you can't do, no, you can't do that. You can't make that story. You can't do that, you know? That's the difference, you know, that's the difference. And to see quite clearly that these are still very charged, very polarizing issues, I think this show will give the opportunity to rally the wrong kind of attention. Either way, you know, either way, because I'm with you. I don't see it being done with the nuance and tact necessary, thereby making the whole thing unnecessary.
They're already apologizing for the show, and the show
Right.
hasn't even been written yet.
Exactly. Yeah. So
not a good
that's a no.
sign.
Yeah. I don't. Game of Thrones isn't gonna buy that.
And I give HBO all the love in the world for one, because Game of Thrones, two, because I've worked on HBO. I've worked on HBO shows.
Right.
So I have a lot of love.
He was on True Blood.
You don't have to get all into that.
But I do. It'd be gauche if you say it.
Yeah, it would.
I can say you were one of the sheriffs on True Blood.
Yeah.
Right.
But I've worked on HBO, and every creative endeavor has different individuals involved and different challenges facing it. So yeah, that's going to be a big challenge. I'm horrified to see what's going to happen. To be 100% honest.
Let me grab another one of these questions here. So, since the source material doesn't reflect the diversity of the modern world, do you think creators are going in a good direction by expanding the existing universes to include more people of color characters like Miles Morales and Kamala Khan?
Yes and no.
Yeah, hold on. let me put a tiny pin in that.
Pin it.
To our wonderful social media assistant who exists in the shadows,
Producer.
lording over us. Producer. Well, but I didn't give her name, you know.
You said assistant.
I did social media coordinator.
She is driving. Yes.
Person. She is
Give
the brains
her props.
behind this, the power behind the throne. Yes.
Yes.
Maybe if like comments that are like directly relevant to something we say, maybe like move those up a little bit so like we can get back to the people.
Oh yeah, keep it in that. Keep it in. Keep it in.
Exactly. Like I mean, if we are like almond milk is delicious, and somebody else is like, here's all the reasons almond milk is bad. Don't want to get to that like 20 minutes from now.
Right. But yeah, he's raw. Almond milk is delicious.
Right.
I like it.
Yeah.
Personally.
Not really my thing, but this is nice. This is nice. Please, two creators moving in a different direction. Is that a good thing?
Yes or no? And I will explain why. It is a good thing because it puts more faces of color out front. It is a bad thing because every character is someone's favorite character. And when you shift, change, or get rid of that character, you are crushing someone's, the light in someone's eyes.
Yeah.
So once again, that speaks to the difficulty of altering the pantheon in a organic way, which is very difficult. Actually, it usually happened because of invasions.
Yeah.
Usually when the pantheon, like the Greeks were invaded by the Romans, who then and then the Romans.
Right.
Took the Roman Catholic Church, came in and took all this stuff from the pagans and made it, and there's a whole bunch of stuff. But yeah, usually the way to do it is to invade the culture and just put your crap all over their crap.
Paint it.
So
it's like stars, we painted it.
Yeah, sometimes literally. Right. And so that's not really something we advocate here in the modern world.
No.
At least not openly.
Again,
I
think these characters need to be interesting and compelling and three-dimensional on their own.
Miles Morales actually worked because it came in the Miles Morales worked because it was an alternate Marvel universe.
Right. Well, but
then they brought him into the main Marvel universe, and it was like,
to me, that made Miles matter even less. Peter Parker dying to clear the way for Miles was meaningless because it was in the Ultimates universe. Spoiler alert: Peter Parker died. And then, to say you're in this world that that has no stakes.
Well, it did have stakes for that world at the time. Of course, he came in right because
they brought him over.
There were some people
who
were truly following the Ultimate Universe, and that was their universe.
Right.
For the people who started reading
not enough to keep it in print.
This is true. So yeah, it's good and bad. It's good that they're trying to do it. It's bad because it's almost impossible not to do in a ham-fisted manner.
Yeah, I mean, again, as long as the narrative is served by that in a meaningful way, if at any point in the creative process you say to yourself, I'm going to make a Muslim character, your character will be garbage. Or if you're like, I'm going to make a gay superhero, your superhero will be garbage. Set out to make an interesting, compelling, three-dimensional character. And if it makes sense in the context of what you created, that person be a lesbian, that person be a Muslim, that person be a Buddhist, that they be blind, whatever, great. And the audience knows the difference. Everybody knows the difference.
You can feel it.
Yeah, intrinsically. And if it's pandering, it feels gross, just like a person pandering to you in real life.
Yes. Should we do some more questions?
Please.
We've got plenty of questions here. We're going to start getting to
We
them.
say a lot of words.
We do. We'll talk a lot. Okay, Wade Silson, I like it. 92. How do you feel about established characters such as Wily West being replaced, updated, as opposed to a new, interesting character being created? Oh, good. It's right in the same thing as what we're saying. Once again, it's Wally West was. I mean, they did the rebirth, and then they all of a sudden, hey, Wally West is black, and it was.
I don't mean to interrupt, but this is an important
You totally
distinction
mean to
between
interrupt.
Marvel and DC. No, I'm going to interrupt.
Right.
So
you
I'm
totally mean
sorry.
to do it.
I mean it
You're
in a
not.
gentlemanly way. Though.
Yeah, it's a gentlemanly interruption, which is fine. Just say I'm going to offer up a gentlemanly interruption.
The white
I don't mean. I know, right? I don't mean. Of course you mean to interrupt. You just interrupted me.
I mean it, but it's a quick one.
Right.
This is the big distinction between the Marvel and DC universes, that in DC, the mantle's bigger than the person.
Right.
You know, many people have served many roles over time. In Marvel, that is generally not the case. You know,
It's becoming the case
It's becoming
now.
the case,
We're
but
doing a lot more
generally,
now,
you know,
right.
the person is the mantle.
Right.
You know, so these swaps are a little easier and a little more organic in DC properties than in
Even
Marvel
so,
properties.
they didn't make a new Flash that was black. They took Wally West, a beloved Flash.
Right.
A well-beloved
I
Flash.
love
A
Wally.
lot of people grew up with Wally West. I mean,
Yeah.
if you were watching, actually, super quick side note, if you were watching Justice League Unlimited, Wally West was your Flash. It was Wally.
Yeah, it was Wally, yeah.
And
Yeah.
DC, if you were watching that, then John Stewart was your Green Lantern, which means when you make a Green Lantern movie coming off of a big, very successful animated series like Justice League Unlimited, one would think the natural thing would be to buck the trend, step ahead of it, and make.
You're doing the angry black guy thing.
Oh yeah,
You can't do the angry black guy thing.
Yeah, you're right. Mhm.
Yeah.
But,
But by the way,
John
if,
Stewart
if
should have
you're
been the
looking to
first one I
cast a
remember.
John Stewart, I know a guy. I know a guy. You would play John Stewart. Don't look at me like you wouldn't play John Stewart. Don't look at me like you just said you'd be a Confederate. Don't look at me
No,
like
no,
you
I
wouldn't
said
play
it would be interesting if they
John
offered me
Stewart.
something incredible. I didn't say I'd take it.
Right. You take it. You take it. We're for sale, folks, and I'm for sale probably substantially more affordably than he is. But don't get it twisted. We are we're a for-profit organization. Again, you know, just to the previous point, you know, if it makes sense.
It did make sense the way they did it, though. It just all of a sudden Wally was black.
You know,
They just kind of.
you know, Sam, you know, Falcon becoming Captain America. You know, that somewhat makes sense organically. Similar to the way that, you know, if something happens to Bruce Wayne, Dick Grayson is next in line. That
Right.
somewhat makes sense, you know.
Even though Bucky had just been Cap and
Right.
Bucky was around, and then they had just brought Steve's son in at
Right.
the time. He had a son from the.
I'm trying
Yeah.
to compromise. This is me trying to meet in the middle here.
It is you trying to meet in the middle.
I mean, I'm trying, you know, versus just automatically saying, oh, Steve Rogers is a black dude now. No.
Yeah, no. That wouldn't work.
Yeah, no.
Sam Wilson taking on the mantle much better than Steve Rogers becoming a black guy.
Right.
100% agreed. Should we do another question?
Please,
Oh, Bo,
with the
you're
questions.
back.
Bo,
Mr.
back.
Hyman's back. Do you think the next generation would tend to be more open?
We've been told we can do the angry black guy thing all we want because this is your platform. Hey, thanks,
Right.
people on the interwebs.
Thank you. But you know, we should keep it less than angry black guy because that's
Less.
what people expect. And if
Right.
somebody like clicked on for that 1 second, they're like, oh my God, they're just angry black people.
Right,
They won't
exactly.
watch it.
True, yeah.
We probably should have stayed away from that. Do you think the next generation, who tends to be more open-minded than the previous ones, are the best hope for more inclusive material?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yep. And in fact, the older generation is actually becoming, in a lot of cases, more open-minded. As they talk to, I mean, some are becoming a lot more closed-minded due to recent circumstances and the prevailing direction our nation is taking.
Well, but you
but
I don't feel like that's creating any new prejudices. I think it's introduced, it's revealing existing prejudices.
I
you know?
100% agree.
And I do think science fiction and geek culture are always the ones at the forefront of that, all the
break
way back
that.
to Lieutenant Uhura.
Right.
You know, and
Yeah.
Gene Roddenberry said overtly back in the 60s, the reason why he wanted a diverse cast on Star Trek is he wanted to portray a better future. And that's why Nichelle Nichols got that role and, you know, made history. And, you know, George Takei and Walter Koenig, although Walter Koenig's not actually Russian, never mind. He's just American, right? And Scotty's not Scottish, I know that. Right.
he was doing it.
Yeah.
He's not.
Not actually, no. I know my life is a lie. Yeah. but the point is.
Why am I learning this just now?
Yeah, but the point is, I do think again, like part of the reason I think personally, like let's take a social issue like something like gay marriage. You can look back over the decades at like public approval for gay marriage just kind of went like on a straight line upwards over time. And I believe the reason why that was is you started getting different portrayals of homosexual people in media. Sometimes it was comedy, sometimes it was drama. And what you'll find is hatred and prejudice requires ignorance to thrive.
Does.
You have to not, it has to be some shadowy other person. Shadowy, no pun intended, you know? And you have a generation of kids now that are growing up in, you know, they go to high school and they know gay kids, and they know Muslim kids, and they know black kids, and they know white kids, and they know Mexican kids, they know Asian kids. And they see people on TV and listen to their music and see them in movies. And it's much harder.
One little caveat to that is the one, sorry, go ahead. Much
I
harder
was just going to say, it's much harder for you to be like, those people are evil, when you're like, but I know those people.
Except for the fact that on the corners of the interwebs, you can find a group of people who agree with anything and everything you want to think in your twisted little mind.
That's why we're here to teach the children.
Right.
Yeah.
We're here to share our experiences. If someone learns something from that, that's great. Maybe you're here to teach your children. I'm here to share my experiences. And if someone learns something from that, and my thoughts and feelings and how I'm moving forward with things.
Yeah.
All right, should we take another question?
Yeah, I'll read this one. All right, so let's see. So what do you think is the biggest barrier to getting more people of color involved in geek culture? So there is a challenge, and I mean, I've seen this in my
Can I say 2 words
lifetime.
as my answer?
Absolutely. No.
Established pantheon. Go.
But I'm talking more to the, you know, voting with your wallet aspect of it, you know, because the fact of the matter is, and this is something that we've argued about over the years, that I say, you know, we don't show up to those things in the same numbers. Huh?
When did I argue about that?
Yeah, you did. I mean, maybe times have changed.
I said we show up in the same numbers? When did I ever say that?
You did.
When?
I mean,
you having a
August
conversation with
26th, 2009.
You were having,
Yeah.
a conversation with someone else, sir.
You know, I do think there is, you know, an undeniable component of, you know, buying trends. And, you know, if you look at who's watching Power, you know, I mean, the demographics probably break down the way you think. I mean, I guess Empire was a crossover hit. You know, I don't really watch it. You know, but there's something to be said with, you know, people engaging in the consistent buying behaviors, you know, and you have to do something that is gonna like bring them in gently, you know, like if you look at like the Game of Thrones summaries for black people and stuff like that, you know, I mean, yeah, they're pretty funny, you know, they're pretty funny, but you know, I think to a certain extent, you know, there's sports people, there's people that love watching basketball and football and things, and those people are going to watch those things.
Right.
You might come to a Super Bowl party and watch it and then leave, but you're never going to necessarily walk around with a Raiders jersey.
I'm going to say you don't necessarily pick a team because you saw a great Super Bowl game.
Exactly. You're not necessarily going to be about that life.
Right.
Right. So, you know, I think it's more important to make really strong content you know, in the genre and vein that you're trying to be in. And if you happen to hit a crossover hit, you know, great, yeah.
Which is actually, like I said, once again, culturally it becomes difficult to make because certain types of storytelling are not supported in certain cultures.
Right.
Which makes it more difficult for someone to come up with a great story coming from that cultural standpoint, because once again, it's not supported in the culture. And what we're doing is we're starting to bring in more of that starting to become prevalent, which is one of the reasons why we're here.
Yeah, what's up with that Octavia Butler post-apocalyptic Africa show thing that they're doing? Yeah.
Is it Octavia Butler? I thought it was original.
I thought it was Octavia Butler. Don't quote me on that. No, there definitely is an Octavia Butler property.
HBO is doing a
being produced.
But no,
I just thought that was it.
HBO is doing a post-apocalyptic African television show.
Right.
And they announced that before Confederate, which was good, but they should have pushed it a little harder before they started.
Right.
But yeah, so they are doing that. And Superstition, Mario Van Peebles is doing a show on Sci-Fi called Superstition, which is about
It's gonna be garbage. It's Mario Van Peebles and it's sci-fi. It's gonna be garbage. You heard it here, folks. You heard it here first, folks. Garbage. And Conor McGregor is not gonna knock out Floyd Mayweather. You heard that too.
I love Mario Van Peebles.
Yeah.
I don't think it's.
I mean, the posse was great.
Thank you.
But it's been a minute.
Right, so maybe it's about time for that secondary, you know? Come about.
He's due. It's like the Scorpions finally beating, and the Washington Generals finally beating the Harlem Globetrotters.
I'm just saying, it's there. He put it on paper. They put paper on it. It's being shot. I'm gonna watch every episode. I don't care how bad it is.
I will say this, you know, I'm knocking
Hopefully it's
sci-fi,
wonderful.
but I enjoyed Defiance. I really did enjoy Defiance.
First season had me, second season lost me.
You know, I will say this. If you haven't seen Defiance, you should watch it for one reason and one reason only. If you've watched Game of Thrones, but you haven't read Game of Thrones, the roles of Daytak Tar and Stamatar, the married couple that are the villains, that's what Jaime and Cersei are supposed to be. Yeah. Not what's in the show. They're supposed to be Daytag and Stomatar.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Should we take another question?
Please.
NorCal, why do you think there's a small number of POC in nerd broadcast media when there's a large number of black nerds plus nerd content? Well, it's in broadcast media, it's really about who you know and how you get there and being in a position where you can get access to, once again, cultural awareness, cultural access, getting put in a place where you can actually get somewhere where you can do this.
And honestly, if we see the amount of success that you all are helping us right now with, you'll see more
of this.
things.
Right.
Yes, because thank you, Geek and Sundry. Thank you, Alpha.
Yes,
for putting us on. Thank you, Nerdist. Thank you, everyone.
But the
thank you,
have to be
Sax.
seen.
There's a wild Sax that's loose in
There
here
is a
somewhere.
wild Sax in here
Yeah,
somewhere.
for advocating for
Sean,
us. Thank you, Sean.
Eric. There's a lot of shout outs.
Thank you, everyone. There's
Thank
many.
you, Hannibal Taboo.
Yes.
For the dope ass soundtrack.
Yes, Hannibal Taboo with
Yes,
the soundtrack.
yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Look at that. We're
So-
getting the 10-minute warning.
Right.
What?
Now, how hard are we on that 10 minutes?
You know, it's
We have a few extra because we started a touch late.
right.
All right, cool.
Look at that. I spoke Sax's name and he appeared. Yeah, I didn't even have to say
Amazing.
it 3 times. It's amazing.
Yeah. No mirror involved.
You know what? We should do a little bit of lightning round. A little bit. Let's
You
try.
want to lighten this?
Let's move through a few of this.
We still have 15 questions. Some of these questions need to be gotten into.
Yeah, I know, but let's. You know what? Let's at least touch on it now, and then we'll circle back. And if we can dive deep, we
But
will.
what I'm saying is, why would do we start with the question?
But it's gonna be. I don't.
Why don't we tell? Wait. Why don't we do this? Why don't we do this?
Yes.
Why don't we do a lightning round off the chat?
Lightning round off the chat.
Yes, we will. Whatever they
Well,
say
but
on the chat.
but the chat moves too fast. The chat is a lightning round.
But that's the
yes,
whole
he is
point.
related to Sidney Poitier, person
Ish.
in chat.
But
you
that's-
know?
but that's
no,
the whole
we're
point of
debating.
doing it.
I'm doing the lightning round. It's already happened.
Of a
Yes.
lightning round by talking about it for 5 minutes.
Yes.
Good point.
There it is.
But I'm saying these questions are
But
established.
let's just do it. All right. Do you think that having a female doctor is pandering, or do you think that it makes sense? I will take this one.
Go ahead.
I would have said it was pandering 3 seasons ago, but Missy was so amazing, I realized that she made the Master really interesting and compelling, and I think that the 13th Doctor is going to make the Doctor really interesting and compelling.
Bam. What is the geek part of this show? You see the t-shirts? Right, it's t-shirts right here. I'm wearing Cap, he's wearing Hydra. We're talking about geek culture and things of that nature that have to do with geekery. And it's really talking about diversity and inclusion, diversity, and you can rewind and see all this again. But yeah, it's talking about diversity in culture and the inclusion of diversity in culture and how that is changing culture and whether or not that's okay and why it should be okay or whatever. Anyway.
I thought we've been talking about comic books and TV shows this entire time. Damion, despite being in the MCU, how do you feel the whole cinematic universe thing is working out for other properties?
I feel like Marvel just locked in how you do it cinematically on the movie side. TVs and other things could be a little tighter. Yeah. A little tighter. But I feel like Marvel knocked it out and everybody else is trying not to do what Marvel did, but do what Marvel did, and so it's becoming very, very tricky.
Do you think that the recent and massive success of Get Out spells not only a return to mainstream horror, but also people of color and the horror behind the scenes?
We need 3 to 5 before they actually call it a trend.
Yeah.
You can't do one, because I don't know if you guys have noticed, but the black romantic comedies
Yeah.
have been breakout hits.
Right.
Every single one has done surprisingly well and way better than we expected. And the numbers are such greater. And it's like, no, if you track it, they're doing the same numbers, all of them.
Right.
For some reason, to you, it's a breakout hit, but to everybody who goes to see these movies who is paying attention, that's actually the same thing.
I mean,
They're doing that well.
realistically, as a part of black culture, black folks watch horror movies. We just do. But I do think Breakout, or Get Out, sorry, being so successful will definitely pave the way for more things that kind of push the limits, other than it's just a man with that chainsaw coming to the door.
Right.
You can read that one.
What do you think about the new Domino reveal? I personally love it. I have to see it.
Yeah, I have to see it. I mean, but it's slightly different in the sense that, she's like porcelain white in the comic.
Yeah.
So I guess it's somewhat debatable with a jet black eye. Maybe.
We'll have to see. Yeah,
Maybe.
we'll really have to see what they do with it. So,
Maybe.
How do you feel about Nick Fury not being in Black Panther? I mean, it's not happening in the main Marvel universe. It's obviously it's maybe not something that served the story. So yeah, if it doesn't serve the story, it shouldn't be in there.
Well, I mean, are we 10,000% sure that he's not?
Pretty sure.
Right. Well, it really just depends. I mean, again, S.H.I.E.L.D. has collapsed. He's somewhere being the world's greatest super spy. It depends on how he fits into the Infinity War. It just depends. Not everybody's to be in everything. Contrary to popular opinion, not all black people know each other. Yeah. Yeah. Wait, yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. Yeah. My cousin, Neil.
Okay. Have you interacted much with the Black Culture Societies in other Western countries, such as the UK, Australia? What did you think? not much, so I couldn't speak on it. I mean, I've had a little bit of experience with the Australian and UK in that I've talked to some people, and I think everybody has their own struggle. Here's the thing: Western culture is predominantly Judeo-Christian, male, patriarchal, Judeo-Christian, and straight. So if you're not that, there's difficulties. Now, the what those difficulties will take, is different format for each cultural particularity.
Yeah, and I mean, unfortunately, different countries have their own form of imperialism, including African countries. It's not, we're not just saying that everywhere it's white people ruin the world. I mean, there's plenty of people in China that were repressed by Chinese people, I mean, the whole Ming dynasty and that whole thing, So, but obviously, I think an Aboriginal is going to have a different cultural experience than we do, but I think probably if we sat down to talk, we will definitely recognize a lot of the fingerprints of that cultural experience. What a Maori has gone through in New Zealand, whatever indigenous people anywhere went through, if other people came and tried to take it from them. So in that, I think there are several aspects of artistic expression that you probably will find in any repressed culture, whoever they were repressed by. Some people from Northern Ireland probably got stories to tell substantially like us.
Yeah, and the Scots.
Yeah.
The Scots have that.
Exactly.
Okay, which blaxploitation character do you think has made the best translation into more realistic portrayal of black culture?
Black Dynamite. Yeah. Shaft went fairly mainstream too.
Shaft went pretty mainstream. I think Shaft. It's the easy one, but you said which one made the best mainstream cutover, so I think it's Shaft because it's the easy one and it's clear to see and easy to see. So I'm gonna go with Shaft. What's your favorite black superhero and why? I don't have a favorite. I like so many different things for so many different reasons. I don't really do favorites. It's horrible because they're like, oh, let's do a favorite list, and I'm like, I don't. It depends on the phase of the moon,
Jon Stewart.
the date.
Jon Stewart.
There you go.
And it's Jon Stewart because I really loved the animated Justice League run. Justice League and Justice League Unlimited and, all of the things that came out of that. I really, truly loved those shows. Those were the shows that made me fans of those characters all the way back to Batman, the animated series, that whole continuity. And just like I came to love Superman and love Batman and love Wonder Woman, I came to love Jon Stewart. So
There you go.
Yeah.
Should diversity take precedence over qualifications when it comes to jobs?
No, because again, it goes back to the pandering and the handouts.
The one thing though, once again, I understand whereas the affirmative action did come about and where it happened because the opportunity to get the lineup to get the qualifications you require for said positions were not there. So what they did, instead of going, you know what, these people aren't getting the educations they need in order to be able to combative in the modern job search, they were like, we're just going to lower the quality of what's required to do it, which is not a good way. You need to go back and fix the problem. The problem is they're not getting enough education to be able to pursue, and they don't have enough cultural openness to be able to pursue that. So you need to break into the culture and find out what the problem is that they're not being offered or being shown the attractiveness of certain paths.
Yeah.
So it's really a Band-Aid on a bullet wound.
Yeah, there's definitely more than we could talk about in 3 minutes about the differences between justice and equality, because justice and equality aren't the same thing. In fact, if you Google justice versus equality, there's a very good image of like 3 kids trying to see over a fence and stacking the boxes. I can't do a justice in words, but if you Google justice versus equality and do an image search, you'll see what I mean.
Yeah.
But, all things being equal, I honestly believe, the best man or woman should get the job. The problem is when you come down into defining what constitutes who the best man or woman is. Yeah. Does someone who went to Harvard automatically more qualified than someone who went to Morehouse? I went to Morehouse. The answer is no.
Right.
But
and that's another place. Yeah, that's another place where affirmative action started getting into because they would be equally qualified but overlooked for certain reasons.
All right.
So look.
You got 4 more questions. We're lightning rounding this. We're doing this for you, people of the interwebs, because you did this for us. And then
we'll keep going for another 15 minutes on the chat.
Okay.
Yeah. Who would you cast in a Spawn movie if someone actually wanted to make a good one?
They are making one. You. That's pandering, though, huh?
Yeah.
No.
Very much.
You'd be a good Al Simmons. Maybe I meant that you should be the Violator.
He was never black in the comics, though.
I mean, he's like a demon anything.
Yeah, he's a demon anything.
Yeah. Right.
You know what? I would like an unknown that could actually portray Al Simmons effectively because they keep doing the stunt casting and putting somebody established in the role, and you're watching the person play the role as opposed to watching the role. So,
Well, the tough thing though is, Al Simmons is only black in the origin. He's
Right.
a white dude after that. So
Well, as they moved on, it changed, and he became
eventually,
black
it's
again.
like what point in the story are we
But when he
telling it,
became
though,
human,
you know?
he was
Right.
his human form was white. And he was like, "Wait, I'm not white. I'm a black dude."
Right.
So let's do what? Oh, did you want to?
No, please, you read it.
What decade is Legion set in? Why is the decor from the 50s to the 2000s? Well, I don't. Which Legion? There's so many different Legions.
I think they mean the FX Legion.
FX Legion?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I am not up on Legion.
Yeah, I'm not caught up on it. I can't really say, but I've been told that the set decorum has something to do with like his hallucinations and his perceptions of reality. I don't know though. It's not my show. I'm sure someone in chat can enlighten us all about
Yeah,
that. Though.
somebody talk about.
Favorite martial arts movies. Enter the 36 Chamber is my favorite movie. Because Wu-Tang Clan, which by the way, we'll speak to this more next week, but I'll just say at this point, the music of Wu-Tang Clan was very foundational to me in my life. It led to me pursuing the martial arts, which led to me being a bodyguard, led to me having a lot of experiences and adventures and ending up in LA in the first place. So it's really difficult to underestimate how much impact both the art and music of Wu-Tang Clan in particular and like all of Shaw Brothers cinema, Five Deadly Venoms, all of it literally defined my life. So, yeah.
I don't like favorites.
He doesn't like that. This room, it is hard for everybody.
Yes,
Last question before we just do a chat lightning round. Both of you guys Spons fans? Esports fans.
Not really a sports guy.
No.
I'm solidly in the unless you're talking about martial arts and fighty stuff. I'm not really.
Yeah. I know. No, I know what they mean. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I don't have the time to make all the things.
League of Legends,
and
watching people play
things.
StarCraft. I have logged thousands of hours playing games in my life. And I have nothing against esports because I don't watch a lot of basketball. The only sport I watch is MMA. Which
No,
is
he's
why,
talking about like.
I know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean they're all sports. I mean spectator
Right,
sports.
but I think he's talking about games on.
He is.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's still watching people play a game, you know?
Yeah,
And I'm
watching
saying
people- not
I
big on
don't
watching
do
people
that
play.
in anything except MMA, which is why I can say conclusively Conor McGregor is not going to knock out Floyd Mayweather.
Question: what did you think of Defenders? You want to take that one? I didn't finish it yet.
Yeah, no spoilers, spoiler free. I did finish it. I liked it. It worked. It was better than Iron Fist. It was kind of, in a way, it had the feeling of Daredevil because it had Daredevil showrunners. It was not an imperfect show, especially the oddly shoddy green screen in the final episode, which again, no spoilers. It's just, there's some weird effects. Your eye will clock it. But it worked. I liked it a lot.
Cool.
Yeah, but no spoilers. He hasn't finished it.
You haven't finished it yet. So far, it's about what I'm expecting.
Yeah. But
Wait, can we scroll back to that D&D question?
This Imp Queen person. I like the cut of your jib, Imp Queen.
The jib.
Right. Can't roll back. That's
Okay.
fine. Hey.
So,
Whose question was it?
it was the something about the cultural setting of Dungeons and Dragons being predominantly European, and does that hurt or assist the?
Well, but I mean, that's a spinoff of Lord of the Rings, basically,
Yeah.
and I do think you can make an argument that Tolkien had no chill about the fact that all the dark-skinned people were evil and lived in this one part of the world, and everyone else was light-skinned and beautiful.
Was the color design of the set intended to be representative of note culture and PLC's place in it? No, but we like that. We're going to go with that. Let's go with that.
Yeah,
That's 100% what
I'm
we're
like,
doing.
copy and paste that.
Yeah,
yes.
that's what we're doing.
Absolutely, though.
Yeah, go to the setting for
No,
Dungeons and
Luke Cage
Dragons
he was really hot, and he was his stunt double. So you,
No, I wasn't. I didn't do the show.
you did, but I mean, all right, okay. You have equivalent hotness, but I met him at Comic-Con. He's beautiful in person. That is true. That is true.
Really,
that's
really,
not a
really
special effect. He's a beautiful man. Iron Fist is much bigger than I thought too. They're the same size. Like,
Is he
he
that
is.
tall?
He is the same
He
size.
looks like a diminutive man. He's
But-
like
but
6'4"?
Yes.
No.
Yes, and they like apple box him when they're together
Really?
in Defenders. Yes, he is the same size as
Finn
Luke
Jones
Cage.
is that big?
I was there. Yes, I saw it. Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Well, you were looking down at them, though. Who
Well,
do you know?
everybody's small compared to me. That is true.
Yes,
Yes,
you wouldn't.
right.
You wouldn't even.
I'm
know.
6'9". You can't tell when I'm sitting. I'm all folded up here. But I live in a world of hobbitses.
He does.
Luke Cage would break you. Oh, okay, sorry. Luke Cage would break someone.
You guys
Possibly.
each have a most anticipated television show for this fall.
Honestly, Orphan Black is done. If you haven't seen Orphan Black, do yourself a favor and watch Orphan Black. It's finished. All 5 seasons are finished. Doctor Who, the end of the 12th Doctor, the beginning of the 13th Doctor. I guess that's not really this fall. It's kind of a cop-out. But what's next with Doctor Who is definitely what I'm looking for.
I don't like favorites.
Well, that's just something we're looking forward to. Interact with the people of the interwebs, Mr. Fox.
What am I looking forward to? Supernatural's a favorite. I really like.
I thought you just said
Supernatural.
you don't like favorites. What?
I said I don't like favorites, but I do have them. But I just don't like them. Look, I'm a millennial. We don't like labels. Okay, I'm not. Who's stronger, Luke Cage or Jessica Jones?
Cage?
Luke Cage.
Yeah, Luke Cage, unquestionably.
Yeah.
Mayweather's going to destroy. I don't think Mayweather's going to knock him out either. Let me clarify my comments. Mayweather hits like pillows, but McGregor. Here's the reality of the situation. You have a guy with no pro fights ever against probably the best defensive boxer of all time. The story writes itself. If they were in a cage, it would be the opposite. McGregor would destroy Mayweather in seconds. He's not going to get it done in a boxing ring.
Donald Glover Spider-Man saga. What are our thoughts on that? He can't play Peter Parker.
No, he can't play Peter Parker.
I know you disagree.
he's going to be the Prowler. I thought. Or are we talking about the movie versus?
No, I'm saying when he was up for it. I think that
he's a little old to be Miles.
Well, he's old to be Miles now too. But he did voice Miles in the cartoon. I think that Peter Parker as Dusky is like Peter Parker as mixed race could be acceptable. Because he actually doesn't have his parents anyway, so like Uncle Ben and Aunt May could
That's
be
not
raised
that
a little,
character. That's
but
not
it's not
him.
the character.
That's
No,
not. That's
no,
not him.
I'm saying
Yeah.
I could potentially be brought to accept such a change.
That's not who he is.
That's not who he is.
You know what I mean? That's not who he is.
Yeah.
You said that somebody just said making content for people of color is made just for people of color. I don't know that that's true.
It's speaking from
just
that perspective, and that's
I
kind
think-
of branded that way.
I
but-
think it's marketing demographics.
Right.
Do any of us really question who Friends is aimed at? Any of us can sit down and watch it, but do we question who Girls is aimed at versus who Insecure is aimed at? Even though we can all sit down and enjoy them. Again, to my previous point, I think it's more important that it just be interesting and compelling and engaging, and the people will find it.
He said, "Young Lando, will Donald Glover pull it off?" Absolutely.
Yeah, he'll do it. He'll be a good young Lando.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Can we have cosplays next time on the show? Absolutely not.
It's
Not gonna happen.
Oh no, not just next time. I mean, we got to save some romance.
I know, right?
We got to
You
do
just
this for
put
a
it all
long
out on
time.
a second date? That's
Yeah.
not how we get down. If you watch anime, if so, what's your favorite show to watch? I fall into and out of anime.
Sword Art Online was the last thing I really loved. I hated Attack on Titan because Eren Yeager is the worst protagonist ever. It's like, Eren, we need you to do this one thing. We're like, Eren, all we need you to do is not touch this glass of milk. And
Eren's
he's like, what? Oh, I didn't hear you. I was touching the milk. That's I just hate it. I mean, visually it's beautiful.
Right.
Beautiful. All right, so 3 minutes. I guess we probably should begin wrapping it up. I don't know. It doesn't take 3 minutes to wrap it up. Well, a couple more questions. We're nearing the end of our time together.
Yes. Speak to us. Ask us your questions. We saw your comment and misread it. Which one? We're not NorCal DC. What was it? Vegeta or Goku?
Vegeta.
Vegeta.
Prince Vegeta.
Vegeta.
Yeah, that's when the angry black man comes out of me. You know the funny thing? He doesn't even watch Dragon Ball.
watch Dragon
He just hears
Ball,
me
but I'm
say
about-
this so many times about that pathetic clown Kakarot that he backs me with Prince Vegeta. Yes, that's when the passion comes out of me. He is the one true Saiyan Prince. He is the most powerful.
Right, we did anticipate it. He said Doctor Who. I said Supernatural.
Yeah. What is your geek guilty pleasure? Like something we'll all make fun of you for? I love RuPaul's Drag Race. I've seen every single episode. I love RuPaul's Drag
amazing.
Race. It is one of the best shows. Oh, the next season of RuPaul's Drag Race. That's what I'm looking forward to most.
There you go.
Yeah.
White Morning Super Guys. I don't know what he said.
Well, you got to read the question to the people.
I didn't see the question.
What's your
All right.
guilty pleasure, Damien?
Oh. I don't feel bad about anything I watched. I don't know.
I loved Log Horizon. Yes, Log Horizon. Thumbs up. Sorry.
Yeah, Log Horizon was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to do some research to see something that I'd actually be ashamed of because
So we're just about that life.
Very
All
little
right,
shame here.
So now we will begin wrapping it up. So let me just say thank you all for tuning in, really. You could have been doing anything right now and you're here with us, so thank you for that.
And then when you're watching it on VOD, if you're watching it again because you missed some of it or whatever,
Yes.
thank you for coming back.
Thank you for coming back. Tune in again. Wait, did we get cut off? Our screen went blank.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I was
I
like,
know.
wait, what happened?
I was about to say we got played off. It's
Wow,
like a
I know,
clown
I
hook
know,
coming
right?
out.
That
Yeah.
was
Follow us
abrupt.
on Twitter. Again, I don't know if you saw our cards. I'm at B Dave Walters. I'm everywhere at B Dave Walters.
I'd be at Damion Poitier. I'm everywhere at Damion Poitier as well.
There is an Ask Your Black Geek Friend Twitter. You can send us questions. You can hashtag AYBGF. I have to spell it out in my mind. Hashtag it and we'll see it. We will talk to you. We will interact with you because we love you.
Yeah, and we'll be here. I mean, we're gonna be here for a while, guys. So
Yeah, man.
you know, this is gonna be a Monday night thing. This will be your Monday night place
Yes.
to talk with your big fan brothers and
Yes.
just have conversations about
And
geekery in general from this perspective.
Yes.
Is what
yes.
we offer.
Because we're geeks first. You know, if you just want to get down into why Voyager sucked, I don't have to mention anything about diversity to tell you why that shit was bad. It was bad because
We're
sorry.
We're out of time.
Not now? Okay.
We're out of time.
Save them
Yes.
for more. Yes.
Yes.
Always leave them
Save
one more.
some for the sequel.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Thank you guys. We'll see you next
Thank
week.
you so much
8:30
for
right
checking
here.
in. 8:30 right here. 8:30 actual next time.
8:30
Yeah.
actual PST.
Yes.
Yes. Go in peace.